Ladies and gentlemen, gather round, as if we're all settling in for a brand new, hyped-up season of the most heart-tugging, action-packed Korean anime you've ever seen. Today, we're not just talking about a character, we're scrolling through the complete life story of Lee Joo-hee, a hero whose tale is more gripping than the final episode of a hit webtoon. Imagine the screen. It starts not with a bang, but with a soft, watercolor flashback. Our protagonist, little Lee Joo-hee, is in her elementary school classroom, doodling fantastical creatures in the margins of her textbook. This wasn't just daydreaming, this was the one-cha, the very first, sparking move of her ultimate ability. She didn't know it yet, but she had just unlocked her main character skill, unbridled creativity. But what's a hero's journey without a training arc? Cue the montage music. We see teen Joo-hee, staying up late, her face illuminated by a drawing tablet. There are failed art submissions, crumpled papers flying like defeated monsters, and moments where she slumps over her desk in a classic, dramatic anime swoon. She was grinding for experience points, leveling up her skills through sheer, sometimes painful, perseverance. This was her time in the hyperbolic time chamber, forging her talent in the fires of effort. Imagine, if you will, that a life is not a rigid, linear path, but a vibrant, scrolling narrative. This is the essence of Lee Joo-hee's story. It unfolds not in the dusty chapters of a hardbound book, but in the dynamic, full-color panels of a beloved Korean webtoon. To understand her is to open the app on your phone, to feel that anticipatory swipe of the thumb, ready to be immersed in a world where emotion is amplified, and every moment is rendered with artistic intention. Her existence is a digital canvas, and each phase of her life is defined by its own unique art style, pacing, and genre-bending shifts that keep the audience, that's us, the witnesses to her journey, utterly captivated. The prologue of Lee Joo-hee's webtoon begins in a style we might call soft-focus nostalgia. The panels are warm, bathed in the golden hour glow of a late afternoon sun. We see a young Joo-hee, not in a dramatic battlefield, but in the quiet chaos of her childhood bedroom. Here, the monsters aren't fantastical beasts, but the intimidating blank pages of a sketchbook. Her weapons, a cheap set of crayons in a boundless, almost reckless, imagination. These early panels are the establishing shots of her soul. We see her doodling fantastical creatures with too many eyes and friendly smiles on the margins of her school notes. The art in these panels isn't technically proficient, the lines are wobbly, the colors bleed outside the lines. But what it lacks in polish, it more than makes up for in pure, unadulterated heart. These are the panels readers will later flip back to, pointing and saying, "Look. You could see the potential right from the start." It's the origin story every great hero needs, the humble beginning before the call to adventure. As her story scrolls into adolescence, the art style evolves dramatically. This is the awkward adolescence arc, and the artist brilliantly reflects this through a shift in visual tone. The clean, warm lines of childhood become slightly more jagged, the colors sometimes muted with the grays of self-doubt and the blues of loneliness. This is where we see the first true emergence of chibi moments, those hilarious, super deformed versions of herself that pop into the narrative during moments of extreme embarrassment or frustration. A failed math test, poof, a tiny, wailing chibi Joo-hee with giant tears spraying from her eyes appears in the corner of the panel. A awkward interaction with a crush, bam, she turns into a steaming, red-faced chibi with spirals for eyes. These aren't just for comedy, they are a relatable, visual shorthand for the overwhelming emotions of growing up, making her struggles not just dramatic, but endearingly human. Then comes the training arc, and with it, some of the most visually stunning sequences in her webtoon. The panels become charged with energy. We see dynamic, speed lines, blurring the background as she stays up late, practicing anatomy for the 100th time. We see dramatic lighting, with a single desk lamp cutting through the darkness of her room, illuminating her determined face as she wrestles with a difficult piece of digital art. The artist uses split-screen panels to show the passage of time. On the left, a messy, struggling sketch, on the right, a refined, beautiful finished piece. These sequences are the equivalent of a montage in an action anime, where the hero is honing their skills. Each crumpled piece of paper is a defeated minion, each completed artwork is a level up. The sound effects are almost visible on the page, the furious scritch-scratch of her pen, the determined clack-clack of her keyboard, the soft sigh of exhaustion that escapes as she finally saves her file. But a webtoon life isn't all training and chibi moments. The true masterstroke of this narrative is its handling of emotional climaxes. When Joo-hee faces a profound disappointment, the rejection from an art school, the loss of a friendship, the artist doesn't hold back. A single, silent, full-page panel might show her sitting in the rain, the city lights around her blurring into meaningless smears of color. The dialogue bubbles are empty. The emotion is conveyed purely through the art, the slump of her shoulders, the reflection in a puddle, the way the rain seems to weep for her. Conversely, her moments of triumph are explosive, two-page spreads. Winning her first art contest is depicted with a burst of brilliant, golden light from the stage, confetti transforming into sparkling stars, her face a picture of stunned, joyful disbelief. The art style in these peaks and valleys is fluid, bending to the will of the emotion it needs to convey, proving that her life is not a documentary, but a living, breathing work of art. This webtoon framework makes Lee Joo-hee's life instantly relatable to a generation that finds its myths and legends in these digital scrolls. We don't just read about her life, we experience it. We feel the tactile swipe to the next panel, a gesture that mirrors our own desire to see what happens next. We anxiously wait for the weekly update, the next episode of her story, because her life, rendered in this animated, vibrant style, is a powerful reminder that our own stories are not predetermined narratives. They are ongoing creations, filled with dramatic two-page spreads, quiet, poignant panels, and hilarious chibi interruptions, all waiting to be drawn with the ink of our choices and the color of our passions. In every great Korean anime, there is a singular, electrifying moment that defines the hero's journey. It's not the final, world-saving blow against the ultimate villain. No, it's something far more raw, far more fundamental. It's the one-cha, the very first, instinctual, and often clumsy activation of a latent power. It's the spark before the inferno, the first, faltering step in a 1,000-mile journey. For Lee Joo-hee, her entire life can be understood through the lens of this powerful trope, because her story is not about a person who was always powerful, but about one who was brave enough to throw the first punch at a world of doubt, again and again. Imagine the scene, rendered in classic anime style. A young Joo-hee, no more than 7, sits in a classroom that feels impossibly large. The lesson is dull, the air is heavy, and the world outside the window is a siren call of distraction. But in the margins of her textbook, a rebellion is brewing. Her pencil, clutched in a determined fist, begins to move. It's not a conscious decision, it's a compulsion. She isn't drawing a house or a sun, she's drawing a creature from her mind, a fox with wings, a rabbit with mechanical legs. This is her one-cha. The art is primitive, the lines shaky and heavy with the pressure of a child's grip. There is no technique, no grace, no thought of an audience. There is only the pure, unrefined need to create. In that moment, she wasn't preparing for a career, she was answering a call. This is the origin story we all recognize. The hero, unaware of their destiny, accidentally summoning a wisp of magic for the first time. It's a flicker, but it proves the flame exists. But the one-cha is not a one-time event. It is a principle she would carry throughout her life, a philosophy written into her very bones. The one-cha is the courage of the beginning. Every artist, every writer, every person who has ever dared to create knows the terror of the blank page, the empty canvas, the silent instrument. It is a void that stares back, a boss monster whose primary weapon is intimidation. For Joo-hee, this monster appeared every time she sat down before a new, pristine sheet of drawing paper. The pressure to be perfect, to be brilliant, to justify the expensive materials, it was a paralyzing force. But she learned to counter it not with perfected skill, but with the spirit of the one-cha. She would take a deep breath, close her eyes for a second, and make the first mark. A wild, sweeping line across the page. A random splash of color. It didn't have to be good, it just had to be. That first, reckless action broke the spell of the void. It transformed the terrifying blankness into a work in progress. It was a declaration, I am here, and I have begun. This philosophy extended far beyond her sketchbook. Applying to a prestigious art school was a one-cha. The application packet was her opponent, towering and formidable. Submitting it felt like unleashing her most powerful, untested attack, not knowing if it would connect or fizzle out pathetically. Asking for mentorship from a cantankerous but brilliant local artist was a one-cha. Walking into that studio was like stepping into the ring, her voice trembling but firm as she made her request. Even sharing her art online for the first time, exposing her heart to the anonymous and often cruel world of the internet, was a monumental one-cha. Hitting the post button was the activation sequence. She was launching her art into the world like an energy blast, vulnerable and hopeful, unaware of the impact it would have. The beauty of Lee Joo-hee's One Cha is that it was never about guaranteed victory. In fact, most of them failed. That first application was rejected. That esteemed artist initially turned her away. Her first online posts were met with silence or criticism. But the One Cha is not about winning the battle, it's about starting the fight. Each failed attempt was a data point, a lesson that honed her aim for the next one. It taught her that the power wasn't in the success of the move, but in the bravery required to execute it. Every great hero's journey is littered with the craters of their missed shots and fumbled incantations. It is through these stumbles that the One Cha is refined from a wild, desperate burst of energy into a focused, unstoppable beam of purpose. Lee Joo-hee's life, therefore, is a stunning compilation reel of every One Cha she ever dared to throw, each one a testament to the fact that the most important step a hero ever takes is not the last one, but the very first. If the journey of Lee Joo-hee is a classic Korean anime, then her power does not come from within alone. In the most beloved stories, the hero is not a solitary asteroid burning across the sky, but a brilliant constellation, whose light is defined by the stars that surround it. Joo-hee's constellation, her indispensable supporting cast, is the very source of her strength, her resilience, and her humanity. They are the party she assembled for this grand quest, each member fulfilling a classic archetype not as a flat character, but as a fully realized soul whose own journeys are intricately woven with her own. First, we have Mina, the loyal healer. In the RPG of Joo-hee's life, Mina is the one who keeps the party's HP, their heart points, from ever hitting zero. She is introduced in a classic, meet-cute, flashback panel, the one who shared her crayons with a flustered young Joo-hee on the first day of school. Their bond was sealed not in dramatic fire, but in the quiet glow of a shared secret. Mina is the unwavering anchor. When Joo-hee faces a devastating critique of her art, collapsing into a spiral of self-doubt worthy of a tragic, black and white visual novel aesthetic, it is Mina who arrives with a sacred combo pack, spicy tteokbokki and a relentless, sunny side-up belief in her friend. She doesn't always understand the technical struggles of perspective or color theory, but she understands Joo-hee's heart. She is the one who delivers the iconic line, "You're amazing, Joo-hee. Get back up." Her power isn't in solving the problem, but in restoring the spirit needed to face it. She is the campfire where the party rests and recovers before the next dungeon. Then, there is Mr. Kim, the eccentric mentor. He operates a small, cluttered art supply shop that seems to exist just slightly outside of normal time, smelling of turpentine, old paper, and wisdom. He is the Yoda to Joo-hee's Luke, the Iroh to her Zuko. He never gives a direct lesson. Instead, he offers cryptic gifts and seemingly off-topic proverbs. When Joo-hee is frustrated that her lines aren't perfect, he doesn't give her a technical manual. He slides a pot of expensive, midnight black ink across the counter and says, "A master once told me, to control the line, you must first set it free. Stop fighting the brush, let it dance." His guidance is never a straight path, it is a series of doors he unlocks, leaving Joo-hee to discover the rooms beyond on her own. He represents the ancient, accumulated knowledge of the craft, the secret techniques passed down through generations, available only to those humble and persistent enough to earn them. And no great narrative is complete without a rival, and in Choi Soo-min, Joo-hee found hers. Soo-min is the brilliant rival, the seemingly flawless prodigy whose very existence is both a torment and an inspiration. Introduced in a rival school's art club, Soo-min's first appearance is marked by a dramatic, almost shimmering aura. Her technique is impeccable, her compositions breathtakingly mature. Initially, Joo-hee sees her as the final boss of the high school art scene. Their interactions are charged with competitive electricity, visualized in the webtoon by literal lightning bolts crackling between their gaze during a timed drawing challenge. But the true magic of the rival archetype is its evolution. Soo-min is not a villain, she is a reflection. Through a series of tense yet respectful encounters, a shared second place in a competition, a late-night encounter at the same 24-hour cafe, they begin to see the mutual drive in each other. Soo-min confesses she envies the raw, emotional chaos in Joo-hee's work, which contrasts her own controlled perfection. They become two sides of the same coin, pushing each other to new heights. Soo-min forces Joo-hee to hone her technique, and Joo-hee, in turn, reminds Soo-min to inject her soul into her art. Their relationship transforms from one of bitter envy into one of the most powerful bonds, respectful, driven competition. Together, this cast forms the ecosystem of Joo-hee's growth. The healer, the mentor, and the rival. They are the voices in her head, the faces in her locket, the party members whose icons glow at the edge of the screen, reminding her, and us, that a hero's true power is not measured in solitary strength, but in the strength of the bonds they forge. Lee Joo-hee's epic is not a solo performance, it is a symphony, and each of these characters plays an essential part in the beautiful, heartbreaking, and triumphant music of her life. In the grand, sweeping narrative of an anime epic, it's easy to become fixated on the milestones, the tournament arcs, the revealed prophecies, the climactic battles where the fate of the world hangs in the balance. These are the episodes we eagerly await, the ones discussed and dissected in online forums. But to understand the true depth and beauty of Lee Joo-hee's story, we must learn to appreciate the special episodes. These are the so-called filler episodes, the quiet moments nestled between the seismic events, and it is within these deceptively simple panels that the very soul of her character is forged and revealed. Imagine the narrative pacing of her life. We've just finished a heart-pounding, multi-part story arc, let's call it the Great Art Portfolio Deadline. The panels were frantic, the deadlines loomed like dark castles, and the emotional stakes were sky-high. The episode ends with her triumphant submission, a classic victory pose against a setting sun. The next episode begins not with the results, but with a sudden, gentle shift in tone. The dramatic orchestral score fades, replaced by the soft, acoustic strum of a guitar and the ambient sounds of a slow, drizzling rain. This is a special episode. The title card appears, a rainy afternoon and a warm mug of tea. There is no villain to fight, no prize to win. The entire episode is simply about Joo-hee, recovering from her monumental effort. We see her clean her chaotic desk, water her neglected plants, and stare out the window as the city blurs into a beautiful watercolor painting through the rain-streaked glass. These episodes are not a detour from her journey, they are the essential maintenance of the vehicle. They are where she processes the trauma of the previous battle and integrates the lessons she learned. Without them, she would be nothing but a weapon, constantly sharpened until she shattered. These quiet moments are the sheath that protects the blade. Furthermore, these special episodes are the primary vehicle for world building, not of a fantasy realm, but of the emotional landscape she inhabits. A pivotal, special episode might be An Errand with Grandma. There is no mention of art or ambition. Instead, we follow Joo-hee as she accompanies her grandmother to a bustling traditional market. The visuals luxuriate in the sensory details, the vibrant colors of the kimchi and seasonal fruit, the steam rising from street food stalls, the grizzled, kind face of the fishmonger who has known her since she was a child. Her grandmother's slow, deliberate walking pace forces Joo-hee to slow down herself. In these moments, she is not Lee Joo-hee, the aspiring artist, but simply Lee Joo-hee, a granddaughter. She is grounded in a reality beyond her ambitions. She listens to old stories, learns a family recipe, and feels the sturdy, enduring love of her family. This episode adds layers to her character, giving her a past and a foundation that makes her future struggles meaningful. It reminds us why she fights, not for abstract glory, but to protect the beautiful, ordinary world she calls home. The true narrative genius of weaving these special episodes into her life's webtoon is that they are where the most subtle yet significant character growth occurs. A major arc might teach her how to win, but a filler episode teaches her how to live. Consider an episode titled The Lost Kitten. On her way home from a part-time job, tired and discouraged, she finds a shivering kitten in an alley. The entire episode is dedicated to her taking it home, feeding it, and trying to find its owner. There is no grand reward. The payoff is the soft purr of the kitten falling asleep on her lap, and the quiet realization that her capacity for care extends beyond her art. This small act of kindness realigns her perspective, washing away the cynicism of the day. It's in these moments that she learns patience, compassion, and the simple joy of being needed for something other than her talent. They are the training grounds for her heart. Therefore, to scroll through Lee Joo-hee's life and skip these special episodes is to miss the story entirely. The epic battles and hard-won victories provide the skeleton of her narrative, but these quiet, slice-of-life moments are the flesh, blood, and breath. They are the proof that a life is not just a series of destinations, but the rich, textured, and beautiful landscape in between. Lee Joo-hee's complete story is a masterpiece precisely because it understands that the most powerful magic is not always in the earth-shattering spell, but often in the quiet ritual of brewing a cup of tea on a rainy afternoon, and remembering what you're fighting for.